Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we're going to talk about Tier 8 matchmaking. Now, Tier 8 matchmaking has, again, come up in, I guess it's never really gone away in forum talk or YouTube channel comments talk, or, any talk, really. So, Tier 8 matchmaking, we've all been there, we all know what it's like. We all know it's not very nice to get up tiered when you're in a Tier 8 ship. The power gap between Tier 8 and Tier 10 ships is quite large. Now, being double up tiered is not special to Tier 8. After you get past Tier 4 and into Tier 5, you can start seeing Tier 7 games, and if you're in a Tier 6, you can see Tier 8 games. If you're in a Tier 7, you can see Tier 9 games, and in Tier 8, of course, you can see Tier 10 games. Now, the issue with Tier 8 matchmaking, for those of you that don't know, at least from what I understand, the major issue is that the amount that people get up-tiered. Like I said, double up-tiering is nothing special to Tier 8. It's from Tier 5 to Tier 8. All those tiers get double up-tiered. It's just that when you get up-tiered in Tier 8, it's usually, if I have to say out of 10 games, it's usually a solid 5 or 6 out of 10 games you will be up tiered to Tier 10. And I would be willing to say about 3 of those remaining 10 games, so like I said, about 5 of those 10 games you get up tiered to Tier 10, and about 3 of them you get up tiered to Tier 9, which isn't near as bad, but you're still being up tiered. And then finally, the last 2 games you may be top tier. And now this of course depends on a lot of things. It's mainly on the weekends when you get up tiered. It's mainly on the weekdays that you get up tiered a lot. If you play on the weekend, you have a better chance of getting in a just straight out Tier 8 game, which is a fresh breath after being up tiered all week. But then you have to deal with weekend teams, and we all know what that's like too. But when you get up tiered in Tier 10, in a Tier 8, and you usually get up tiered over and over and over and over, it is extremely frustrating. And it's kind of part of the game, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, is it part of the game? What may be causing it, and what wargaming could do to address it. And again, I'm not offering any hardcore solutions. I'm just giving my thoughts, as the title of this video should be my thoughts about, or let's talk about Tier 8 matchmaking, or whatever. So this video may be a bit rambly, but I do like to do these, just sharing my thoughts videos with you guys. Every now and then, my thoughts on the CV rework seem to went over pretty well with you guys. So now we're doing one on Tier 8 matchmaking. So anyway, like I've already said, it's not getting up to Tier 10 that sucks. It's just the amount of times that it keeps happening that sucks. So what's causing that is, one, not a lot of players get to Tier 10. And I know if you play a lot at Tier 10, there's a fair chance that you may start recognizing some of the players' names, simply because you may see them over and over and over again. I know I do. There are some people that when I see them in Tier 10, I just go, hey, I played with them, before. And think about that for a second. Any other game that you play, Battlefield, Call of Duty, that's not going to happen a lot. And that is, of course, because this game is nowhere near as big as those games, and that just means less people make it to Tier 10. Now, the grind in World of Warships is nowhere near the grind in World of Tanks, and nowhere near the grind in War Thunder. So it's not that hard to get to Tier 10, but it is still a grind. And Tier 8 in and of itself may be kind of acting like a wall to people getting to Tier 10. And that's because once you cross that Tier 8 threshold, that's the point at which you really have to be performing well, or at least very decent, in order to actually make credits anymore. If you're not running a premium camo, premium flags, or a premium account, if you're just a bare bones player that's just playing for free, you won't have very much of that. You may have some special camos and some flags, but you don't have the premium camos that really just decrease the cost of running a ship. And, well, that's what stops a lot of people. And I know some of you guys that have talked to me that y'all just tell me, you know, I play at Tier 6 and Tier 7 because I can't afford to play at high tier. I just, you know, it's rough to make credits at Tier 8 as a free-to-play player. And that is perfectly understandable. Because the way this game, just the way this game is, you know, if you just have a run of bad games, which, I mean, I doubt there's very many of us here that haven't gone on those epic, like, 10, 15 game lose streaks before. But those suck. And it can happen to any of us because World of Warships isn't really a game where one person can really carry their team. I mean, I'm sure there's some super unicoms that can, but it's very, very hard to do that, let alone in a Tier 8 ship in a Tier 10 game. Just Tier 10 on Tier 10, that's hard to do. It's almost impossible in a Tier 8 ship in a Tier 10 game, but it has happened, but it's not something that happens very often despite what some replay channels may have you think. So that's one reason why there's not a whole lot of players at Tier 10, and matchmaking has to dig down into Tier 8 in order to get these battles together. Now the second issue is that the composition also plays a big role in it. If I get up tier to a Tier 10 game and I'm in a Tier 8 ship, and there's, you know, maybe there's just 4 Tier 10s in the game in total, I'm perfectly fine with that. There's 1 Tier 10 battleship in each team, maybe there's a Tier 10 cruiser in each team, but the other ships are Tier 8 and Tier 9. That's fine. That's not a big issue for me. It might get a little annoying after a while, but hey, you know, I'm not a little Tier 8 ship and Tier 10 soup. Now, when matchmaking does put those Tier 10 soup games together, when it's literally just nothing but Tier 10s, and, you know, you and one other person, or you and 2 other people may be the only ones in Tier 8 ship. So you're just, you know, your buddy, and then the other Tier 8 and their buddy on the enemy team. You're just 4 ships in a game that's nothing but Tier 10. That is when it really starts to suck, when you get those hard up tierings. And the sad part is, those hard up tierings, they're not rare. Matchmaking, for whatever reason, just nabs 4 Tier 8 ships, throws them in a game with a bunch of Tier 10 ships, and you're just sitting there like, what in the world am I supposed to do? Now, this is kind of... I mean, it's hard on any class, but it's especially hard on battleships, because Tier 8 battleships, they're not exceptionally stealthy. Well, the Roma is, but most Tier 8 battleships aren't exceptionally stealthy. And in a Tier 10 game, when the first 10 minutes is a sniper fight compared to the ranges that most Tier 8 battleships engage in, it's hard to do anything major in the game, and you kind of have to bide and wait your time, and just have fun looking at the pretty graphics if your graphics are set on high. But you also get into those situations where you're getting sniped by a Yami at its max range, and you can't do jack about it. Because you're a Tier 8, there's a Tier 10 or a Tier 9 destroyer spotting you that's within your spotting range, but he's definitely not within, I mean, you're definitely not within his spotting range, and you just can't do anything about it. And a lot of players in game just kind of say, oh well, we all had to go through it before. Yeah, but did you really enjoy going through it before? You know, I sure didn't, and I had to go through it God knows enough times. But I had premium with me for all but one grind. After I got done with the North Carolina, I went ahead and just bought premium, and I mean, I still had to go through it, but at least it was faster. At least the other, oh god, how many times have I grinded? The other 5 or 6 times. But yeah, it sucks. And of course, I know there's going to be people that say Wargaming does this intentionally because they want you to buy premium, they want you to buy flags, they want you to buy camos, and sure, I'm sure that's part of it. But they have tried, at least, to change it in the past. And they did that with the last Tier 8 matchmaking updates, which was God knows how long ago. I think it was almost a year ago. Where they changed it to where matchmaking would spend longer time looking for Tier 9 ships before it then went to Tier 8 ships. And that did seem to help for a little while, but I'm not sure if that just wasn't working for Wargaming. They didn't really like it, and maybe they pulled the plug on it without us really noticing. But I've been noticing I've been getting hard tiered to tier 10 more and more so. And this is in the summer because, you know, school's out, college is out, and this is probably almost at the peak of players, at least over here in North America. It, of course, is probably different in Europe. But people have free time now, they're spending more time on the game, and when schools go back, which in North America, I know most schools are going back this month, you know, the player population is going to decrease, and you may see even more hard tier up tierings. And there is the problem. I would say matchmaking would need to just run for a little while longer. If you are in a tier 10 ship, you have a 2, 3, maybe a 10-second wait time if it goes a little while long. And tier 8, God, you have like a 1 or 2 second wait time just because the tier 8 ship can fill in slots in a tier 10 game, they can fill slots in a tier 8 game, which, I mean, they can be top tier and they can see tier 6 ships. You know, just let it run a minute or two. We can wait. You know, I don't know what the wait time for most of the popular AAA games are nowadays because, I mean, this is the game that I play most of the time. But back in like Modern Warfare 2, Battlefield 3, we had to wait for matchmaking 2-3 minutes sometimes. And those were extremely popular games. You know, so wargaming, we can wait a couple of minutes just for better matchmaking. Now, of course, tier 8's being up tier to tier 10. I don't believe it's ever going to go away. It's just part of the game. But I do think they should maybe just let matchmaking go a little while longer before it starts just throwing, you know, a couple of tier 8 ships in a tier 10 game to fill a couple of places. I think, you know, and of course, like I said, it's not going to fix all of it, but I gotta imagine that it would certainly help out a lot and help alleviate just this hardcore up-tiering that we've been seeing a lot of recently again. And again, it's, I mean, those of you that watch stream, just it wasn't last week's stream, the week before last. There was a game where it was me and my Bismarck and some poor fool in a Monarch in a game where we were the only tier 8s and all the other ships were tier 10. There weren't even tier 9s involved. It's like, matchmaking, did you forget about tier 9? Like, come on. So I think that would help out a lot. And it would also at least show that matchmaking is trying to find other ships rather than just saying, oh, tier 8, whoop, up tier. You know, it would at least look good. But anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on that. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. And, well, this is back to school week for me, so I'm going to be really busy if I'm not replying to comments as much as I usually do. That is why I've just been slammed with schoolwork recently. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.